friends all know that I'm cool. I've been this way since high school. Cause life's never been sweeter when you're just a cake eater. When it comes to hockey, nobody can stop me. My high school team, I was playing on the top three.
Welcome to the Youth Hockey Hub High School Hockey Podcast, brought to you by Mayo Clinic Sports Medicine. I am Danny Ryan, joined with me, as always, Tony Scott.
How you doing, Danny?
Good, and Carl up in Duluth.
Hey, Danny.
Hey, Merry Christmas to each of you guys. Hopefully you got what you wanted. I'm still waiting for my Cloquet jersey to come in the mail, I guess, because Santa didn't bring it.
That would be a good gift.
I would do a lot of things with the Cloquet jersey, or for one.
That would be a very good gift. You know, in 2 years, Cloquet will be one of the top 3 teams in the state. So,
well, you know me. I collect high school jerseys. I got a Roseau. I got a Rapids, 2 Edinas, North St. Paul. I'm pretty well versed in my collection right now.
I like the North St. Paul
one.
one.
Oh, the North St. Paul one's it's pretty sick. I don't have a Hounds one, Carl, so I'll blame you on that.
We can get you one of those.
On our broadcast the other night, someone asked me what my favorite uniform was, and I don't know if Carl was watching or not, but I confessed that I thought the Hounds, horizontal, the diagonal,
sort of style.
I just think it's real classic. Yep. As far as ones that wouldn't be your classics,
yeah.
And obviously I like the one I wore at Minneapolis Southwest with the white with the
Purple.
Chicago Blackhawks emblem on it was pretty cool, but it wasn't unique, because it was taking from the Blackhawks. But I thought it was a pretty cool uniform.
I like my 2006-2007 Grand Rapids one because it's mesh and stuff, and they went throwback that season. I know Tim Howe has told me before, just to be special, and I think that's a cool jersey.
That's the one with the number in front?
Yeah, the number in front, that's the 1970s jersey.
What would have been even better had they had the vertical striped, center striped helmet. That would have been better, 'cause that's what they wore in the 70s, before you two were born.
Okay, well, let's get started talking some hockey early. First game that I want to talk about last week, this wasn't a part of our pick'ems, but I was there and you guys watched it. It was a Duluth East great first period, and Centennial taking over in the next. Centennial 4, Duluth East 2. Tony, you're shaking your head at me already.
Yeah, I couldn't believe. I thought East was going to put them in the running time, and and all of a sudden I blinked, and Centennial won the game.
Yeah, I think when I was watching this, and what I was so impressed with East against Lakeville North the previous week, of just playing Eastie-style hockey, buying into that Mike Randolph, puck, deflecting, pass breakup system, cycle, trap, that this, somehow disappeared after the first period. It was really weird, right, Carl?
Yeah, the thing about these teams, they're always going to have moments where they fall off their game. You're not going to play 50 minutes of your style, night in and night out. But once you do fall off, you have to be able to get back. And the frustrating thing about this is that once you fell off the train near the end of the first period, they never got back on, and it got ugly by the end.
What was the talk amongst people up in Duluth about what happened? Did you talk to anyone any other experts up in Duluth about their take on the game?
Yeah, I mean, it's just sort of, they thought the team got frustrated, got away from them. They just didn't, it's almost more of a mental thing than anything. They never got back to where they needed to be once things started going downhill.
Well, and East had a number of chances on the power play, too. They got 2 out of 8. But, I mean, the rest were just giving them calls, too, in this game. It was just crazy. And I don't know if it's just a product of the Olympic-size ice, because whenever I see Centennial play, and maybe this will change in Schwann's Cup, they're not as good as they can be on that ice. I think that's what I'm stuck thinking. I don't know what it is.
It's almost like they don't have a home ice advantage with the big sheet. It's weird. Yeah, I agree. And we're like bemoaning Duluth East here, but you got to give Centennial some credit.
Definite props
they came back and won. They outworked them.
Yep.
They kind of had that northern suburbs, blue-collar mentality. Give them some credit here. I still think even though they had beat Elk River, they had their chances against Elk River that day we saw them.
Yep.
Centennial's a team that still, let's not count them out. I had them in my early top 10 because I thought they were going to
they're the best in Section 5 AA right now.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
Now, that's a very competitive section with Maple Grove and Blaine. Those guys cannibalized themselves last week. So but Centennial's looking the best of that crop right now.
Yeah, which is really iffy because when we saw them against Elk River again,
Yeah.
but they had their chances against Elk River, but I still thought Elk River was the class of that game for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Carl, any more takeaways on this one?
Yeah, I think the thing about Centennial, I'd say, is that they do a good job of not beating themselves. They're very steady. They play within themselves. They don't, make stupid mistakes or give teams chances, obvious chances. So that's, they're not a great team, but they're a frustrating one, and they could, give someone some trouble down the stretch.
I agree with that. That's a good assessment, Carl. I think that even against Elk River that day, I saw them and broadcasted them. They didn't make a lot of mistakes. And
No.
Elk River had to earn everything they had. They have a great goaltender.
Yeah.
So Travis Allen was impressive that day, and he was probably pretty good against East too because East was on the power play the whole game.
Yeah, that's not a game that East isn't or Centennial's not going to make the mistakes that you might see out of a Blaine this year.
Right.
I think that's the takeaway from that.
I agree with that.
Okay, next game that we want to talk about. This was a part of our pick'ems. I did get this one correct, picking Minnetonka over Prior Lake. Beat you guys on this one.
Yep.
Minnetonka won 5-0. This was a game that Tonka needed to win. I think in all of our estimations, right?
Yeah, just to stay in the respectable zone. And this is kind of a respectable zone game because Prior Lake has fallen completely out of the respectable zone.
Yeah. Well,
Prior Lake.
Here's the thing, Tony. This is the constant question that we always have with Prior Lake. How good are Prior Lake's youth teams?
Awesome. Win state championships.
How good are Prior Lake's high school teams?
It's a mystery. It's an unsolved mystery.
Do they need to promote like Bianchi to be their high school coach?
Well, don't get them started.
But I mean, this is a constant issue, I think, with them. Ever since they came into like the section semis, I think 1 year and lost to somebody. I think it was Burnsville.
Burnsville or Jefferson.
In 2A, and we're like, oh yeah, here we go. Prior Lake's gonna come, and
then you have all these promises of their youth program that was coming up. I agree.
And
one big miss here. Scott Reedy would be a senior in high school, and he was involved with one of those state championships, and now they have a couple.
That
more
doesn't make up for the Kevin Fellows, the Connor Clemens. This is a good youth team.
I agree. I'm not arguing. Everybody knows I'm friends with Joe, so I can't rip too hard on my buddy Joe. But hey, I just called them out of respect. I mean, they're not reputable right now. They got to win some hockey games, and I'm pretty sure that he and Ingy and those guys down there know that, and there'll be a come to Jesus down there.
Well, and I think they can. They have the talent, right,
God.
Carl?
Yes.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt they do. It's players like Jackson Judding coming up, and Fellows has been there for 10 years, and there's some great talent in Prior Lake. And they beat Lakeville earlier this year. They've shown some flashes, but just hasn't come together.
Here's a thought, Carl. What if Prior Lake was in Section 1 AA?
They beat Lakeville South, so that tells you they'd be one of the top 3 teams in the section, have a decent shot in the tournament for sure.
Do you think they would make the tournament in that section as opposed they're not going to make it in the tournament the way they're playing for Section 2A?
No.
But would they be a competitive team in 1AA that they would probably make the tournament?
Of course they would, yeah.
Okay.
They'd be competitive in 3AA.
I'm just
5AA.
Well, I'm just
there's
thinking,
a lot of holes out there you could poke in this section setup, which we'll get to later in the show. I'm excited to talk about it. All right, next game, Danny.
Next game is St. Thomas Academy, Eden Prairie. This skated to a 2-2 tie. I thought this was the best game of the year.
I thought this was one of the best. I liked my Grand Rapids Minnetonka game, even though it wasn't 1 versus 2 or anything like great. That was one of the better games, just back and forth kind of game. And I thought the Grand Rapids Eden Prairie game in the Holiday Classic was good. But, yeah, I broadcasted this game, and it was outstanding. Both teams had great chances to win this game, especially in the third period. I thought the goaltenders, who we named the player of the game, were definitely the standouts in this game.
Yeah, Atticus Kelly had a great game, I thought.
Yeah, he had 30-plus saves, and Weincheck had like 19.
Yeah, shots were 34-31. We didn't know what the shots were.
Really?
Yeah, we didn't know.
We had like 19 for...
Yeah, Eden Prairie had 34 shots. The problem is Eden Prairie doesn't post their shots, and so
and the PA announcer, you can't hear them, especially with headphones on.
It didn't make a difference.
No, I know, didn't matter.
But I thought this game was really good. The takeaway that I had in this game was St. Thomas can play with them. Nicky Lieberman was back for Eden Prairie. This was a much better Eden Prairie team than we saw in the Holiday Tournament, I thought, with Lieberman.
Agreed.
It made a big difference. I think looking at this game, I was sitting next to my dad, and my dad was like, wow, I didn't know St. Thomas was this good. And I was like, yeah, they're this good. I think you look at the shock value of breakout defensemen of Stucker and Foley, and then you then put in the
big
Holmes.
hitter Blake Holmes, man.
Holmes
he had
is
some huge hits. Oh my goodness,
he is such a
crushed
steady
some
Eddie
guys.
defenseman. He's kind of like the Jack Doherty of this team.
Yeah, wow, that's a big compliment.
But, I mean, you look at him, and you have the Seamus Donahue type of Stucker that's just free-flowing all the time. You need that stay-at-home defenseman that Jack was on those teams for St. Thomas, and that's, if you can put somebody out that you can shut down Casey, and Blake was pretty physical in this game.
Yeah, I was impressed with the third line of St. Thomas. I mean, this is depth. I mean, this is serious depth. I mean, the speed. And I'm going to botch the guy's name again.
Skewers?
It's not Skewers. It's Squires or Squeers. Squeers.
Let's put it
it's
that way.
Squeers. That's how it's pronounced. Squeers. He was so fast.
Yeah,
I mean,
he was
super
good.
opportunistic. It wasn't like it was one lucky goal. I mean, he was all over the place, and he's not a top six guy. That's the kind of stuff. Those are the kind of players where you go, okay, mark this kid down because come March, he's the kind of guy who will win big games for you. And when he's playing on the third line against someone else's third line, who can't keep up with him.
Well, and their first line is good. I think you look at Willie Rhyme is playing very well.
Rhyme, Raymond,
and Christie, right?
Peyton Matsui. Raymond Christie. Sorry.
Yeah, because Matsui's with McFadden and.
No, it was Christie. I broadcast.
Christie,
Matsui, and Rhyme were together.
Oh yeah, you're right.
They were together, and then the other one was Robert Christie and McFadden and somebody else.
The problem with St. Thomas is they're all the same size. And so
not McFadden
and Rhyme. Yeah.
There's lots of water bugs out there, but they're fast and they're great hockey players,
and
high IQ,
good defense, and good goaltending. This is a team that I think you got to start watching out for, and it's legitimate. These games are legitimate. The Holy Family game.
No doubt.
Carl, any takeaways on this? I know Tony and I were there, so we kind of went on a tangent on that one.
Yeah, I didn't watch this game, obviously, but then I think you said what I take away from this game. St. Thomas is here to play. They're a top 5 team for sure now. And I think you could make an argument that they're the favorite team going to the Schwann Cup Gold.
Yeah, I agree there. Okay, 2 other games that were a part of our pick-ins. Hill Murray, White Bear Lake skated to a tie, which good for White Bear Lake. This is the first time that this has really happened in 20 years for them in the regular season. So I forget what Zach Elverson told me. Like it's 15 to 20 years since White Bears actually won a regular season game against Hill.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I would have thought more than that. I would have thought because I know they've had some troubles, obviously, in section play, but they've been to the state tournament, So I think this is a team. I guess I'm the only one on this show that's going to promote White Bear Lake, but I think this is a team that could make it to state this year.
You're thinking White Bear?
I mean, obviously, my favorites are going to be Stillwater, but I think they can. And the fact I call it the rivalry factor. Remember, I said last year Hill and White Bear isn't a rivalry. White Bear and Stillwater is a rivalry, no doubt about it. So I think that you get that rivalry factor if somehow White Bear can get into the section final.
Pronto can shut down a game, too.
I agree.
Any takeaways on this one, Carl?
Yeah, I actually watched the third period in overtime. I got back from the game. I was absent, caught the tail end online, and it was a fairly even game. I think Hill outchanced White Bear by a decent margin, but it was a well-earned tie for both teams. So I think we've seen now that in this game, the win over Blue Beast, White Bear Lake's for real. They're a top 15 team. They can play. They've got tough defense, great goaltending in Toronto. They can hang with anyone, and are they going to win the section? Probably not, but they're going to be an annoyance, and they can easily knock someone off in sections.
I agree. And then last game, East Grand Forks Bemidji. I believe I got that one right.
5-2, East Grand Forks over Bemidji. Good job, Tony. So you and I tied on the pick'ems this week.
And Carl was in last place, which is pretty much the usual
normal.
normal around here. I agree.
Anyways,
It's just no record. No, it's no record.
Carl, we can't hear you. Your phone breaks up in Duluth. But anyways, to go on in this game, East Grand Forks is playing good hockey, and this gives us what is going on with AAA. I don't know what's going on right now.
Nobody knows. I mean, Alexandria beat Moorhead for crying
Or
out loud.
tied.
Well, that's basically a win. That's a win. Okay?
That's a win.
These guys play in district play at the youth level. If Alex ever beats them, it's like throw a party. I mean, they have a parade at Runestone Arena.
Yeah, so I don't know. Good. I think EGF is the top team now, going away in 8A. What's
No
going
doubt
on with
about it.
War Road? We don't like
1-6-1. That's a scary number for.
that's not good. TRF's not that good.
No.
And so I think East Grand is playing the best hockey right now, which is good for East Grand.
Yeah, 3 big wins in a row. I mean, this is actually 4, but 3 in really impressive fashion.
Yeah,
so.
and this is an impressive one. And they beat Roseau, right? Or who
They
else
beat-
did they beat?
They beat Warroad. They beat
Alexandria.
Alexandria.
Yeah, Alex was what I was thinking. Yeah.
Which
And
isn't a
they
bad
also
team.
tied St. Cloud Cathedral.
Oh yeah, they beat St. Cloud too, didn't they?
Tied.
Tied. But that's a good
Tied. Their
tie.
loss was to Greenway. So
Hey, that's a decent loss in Class
no,
A.
their only loss is to a really good team. So
Okay, well, I definitely forgot our first segment of the show. I got too excited to talk about some games. We were going to talk about a little bit of things that tick us off that recently. So I'll start first on this. I guess I haven't gone to a game where I've seen a really good combative student sections going back and forth.
yeah, back and forth. But so far, I've been to a lot of games so far. I thought the best student section that I saw this year was the Jefferson student section against
I
Eden
agree.
Prairie.
I was going to say that.
That's the only one that I thought was actually an impact on the game was Jefferson and Eden Prairie for
And
a period
Jefferson,
and a half.
they normally bring a good student section.
Yeah.
And so I'm pretty, but I haven't seen like student sections go back and forth, chirping at each other. I mean, we weren't at White Bear Lake Hill, which I guarantee was that.
Probably some good stuff there.
But
yeah.
we weren't at that. And so I don't know. That's something that, because you, when I brought this up to you, Tony, you said, no, I mean, EP St. Thomas was a good student section. I go, where are the St. Thomas kids?
And they weren't there.
They were
It's a
not
big
there.
game, and maybe they couldn't get in because the place was sold out. I mean,
Yeah,
it was packed.
that was
crowd.
packed. Okay, Tony or Carl, what's yours?
Yeah.
Or who
Well,
who
first of all,
wants
just
to go?
make comments that we need to get you up north a little bit more here because we've had awesome student sections at nearly every game I've been to this year so far. East has been great every game. East Cloquet, they're going back and forth the whole time. Hitting was great. They were loud. Marshall, everyone was wearing Santa hats there on Thursday. Great energy at Mars for the East Marshall game. So it's been a lot of fun up north. So we need to get you up here more.
Well, we're trying. We're
But,
going to try to get up there Wednesday
yeah.
to see Hermantown and Delano. Fingers crossed on that one. I'm going to go with my. What bugs me is the early exits, guys that have a Division I scholarship.
As
and
a junior.
As a junior or a senior, for that matter. They already have it in hand. They have the thing in their briefcase already, and they go and they play junior hockey for absolutely no reason at all. What we saw on Thursday night between St. Thomas and Eden Prairie was indicative of great hockey, and it's not necessary to leave your friends, leave your prom, leave your homecoming, leave
Okay.
all that stuff, and to sacrifice your junior, senior in high school.
Put a pin in that. Let's do some research. Okay.
We will.
I think we'll come up with some. Carl, you want to come up with some good names on this?
Yeah, we should make a list of people and go back to see where they all ended up.
Yep, where they ended up and how they're faring.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's do that next week. Carl, what's yours?
Okay, I'm going to complain about holiday tournaments. I mean, I love the idea. Could have so many great games. There have been a lot of great holiday tournaments in the past. I've enjoyed going to them. But this year, I have a beef with basically every single big tournament out there. You look at the Schwann Cup, it's basically become the Lake Conference Jamboree. Half the field is Lake Conference teams. They already play each other twice. And seeing them play each other again, it's boring. And not only that, teams like Hill and St. Thomas, they play these teams two already during the regular season. So it gets old when you have the same teams playing over and over again in this big tournament. Holiday tournaments are a chance for teams from north to travel south and vice versa and really mix it up. But instead, it's the same teams playing in the goal. So that annoys me.
I like that. That's a great take, especially the Swan Cup Gold.
There's
That's a
no
good
northern
take.
teams in it.
No.
Nope.
You go as far north
as
as Section 5.
Yeah, that's not really north.
No. Okay. Well,
My number two.
yeah. What's your number two?
Going here.
Yeah, keep going.
Wow. Rant.
Yeah, get going here. The St. Louis Park tournament is not a tournament. Come on here. They have 8 teams coming together to play each other. They all play 3 games in 3 days, but they have pre-selected opponents. It's whoever they want to play. It's not actually a tournament, and this could be a great tournament. There's so many good teams. It's nearly as good as the Schwann Cup on paper. But no, they chose who they're playing, and because of that, the matchups aren't anywhere near what they could be, and I think that's annoying.
Number 2, I'll give you that, Carl, because I think we would love to see Stillwater Elk River.
We are going to see Stillwater Elk River
in a tournament style.
Correct, versus a preset game
where they're like, okay, we're now getting up to play, this team
for a tournament, for some kind of trophy. Who cares? Some pride on the line versus just 1 and 2. So
yeah. Okay.
And Stillwater has cakewalk games before they play that final game. So, it's not like they're building towards this and winning their way to winning a tournament. They have 2 easy games where other teams don't have that. Okay. But anyway, round number 3, I think actually maybe the best field for a tournament is up here in Duluth this weekend. It's the Hilltopper Holiday Tournament. We've got a whole bunch of good teams right across the state. Got Delano, Hermantown, Bemidji, teams coming in from all over. But if you look at the bracket, they've got a little home cooking here. Duluth Marshall are playing Brainerd in the first round, who's okay. But on the other side of the bracket, they also have Roseville and St. Francis, who are clearly the 2 weakest teams in this field. On the other side of the bracket,
they're powerhouses,
Carl. I'm sorry if I'm insulting you there, but look on the other side of the bracket. That's where you have Bemidji, Cloquet, Delano, and Hermantown all shoved together in one group. And come on.
Yeah, let me just interject here. What was most interesting is that the Hilltoppers didn't play either St. Francis or Roseville. They could have had. It would have been a decent field had they played them and then Brainerd in the second round. Instead, it's not only is it completely unweighted, but it's weighted wrong. As far as I get the weighting. I get the weighting part, but let's weight it at least somewhat right. They weighted it wrong, not in their favor, because I think Brainerd's probably going to beat them.
Yeah, I would actually think that.
So then they end up having to play the loser of St. Francis and Roseville.
Hey, they're automatically in the consolation.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So,
okay, well, talking about holiday tournaments, Carl, let's jump right into Schwann's Cup. Okay, first off, let's talk a little bit about Schwann's Cup Gold, as Carl has dubbed it, the Lake Conference Holiday Tournament, which it kind of is. Every game has a Lake Conference matchup in the first start. You have St. Thomas Wayzata, Centennial Tonka, Eden Prairie, Hill Murray, Edina, Burnsville. That's every one of those games has a, where's the Hopkins? I guess.
Yeah, really, Hopkins isn't in it.
But my takeaway on this is I think we're going to see another St. Thomas Academy Eden Prairie matchup.
I can't argue with that.
Just the way those 2 teams are playing, Wayzata they barely beat St. Louis Park 3-2. Okay, the wheels have now almost come off there.
Yeah, hard to argue with you there on that one.
Centennial Tonka. Say that again, Carl. You broke up.
Watch them come out and win 3 games this week. That would be a very Wayzata thing to do.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that would be
a very Wayzata thing to do.
And then Centennial Tonka. This is a toss-up game in my book.
Yeah.
Eden Prairie, Hill Murray. Eden Prairie should roll.
Yep.
And then Edina, Burnsville. Edina should roll on this game.
Correct.
And then we've seen the EP Edina game before, and so I'm seeing EP there. I'm seeing STA is going to be. Either if it's Tonka, it's going to be a close game because it was a close game the first time.
I still like Centennial. I still like St. Thomas winning this one.
I still like St. Thomas coming through, and I think St. Thomas is going to win this tournament.
Well, I've picked Eden Prairie to win on our site today, so I'm sticking with that pick.
What do you think, Carl? Who do you think's coming out of this?
I'm going to think of that. I said earlier, I think they're the top team in this tournament, so I'll stick with that.
Well, and now that the Schwann's Cup curse is broken, when the cadets win this, they can win the state championship.
Yes, they can. Yes, they can.
Okay, let's run by silver and bronze and open as well. Silver, I see my winner coming out of this is St. Michael Ellerville. I think this is a team that's playing good hockey. They beat Breck last week.
I lost to Buffalo.
Oh, well, okay.
and I'm going to pick them.
Well, so you're picking St. Michael?
I'm going to pick St. Michael, but I need to throw that caveat in there. They did lose to Buffalo.
Carl?
Somebody pick someone else. So I'll say Breck turns the tables. It was a close game. It could go either way the second time. So I'll think Breck pulls this one out.
I think that I also said the Breck Cretan winner. I think Cretan can beat Breck.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, they've got. Those are probably the second and third best teams in this tournament. Yeah.
Cretan's got Gleason. They have good talent.
Yeah.
On
Oh
their
yeah, it's
team.
young.
Yeah.
They're good.
Bronze. I'm picking the Bears of Blake.
With not much behind it. I don't hear much.
Sasha
Shogren.
is my game changer right there.
All right, Carl.
I'm going to go with Hudson, Wisconsin. I know absolutely nothing about them, but I've heard they're actually decent. So
This is a Minnesota show, Carl.
Yeah, I like that pick though. I think the Raiders are tough. I think they could win it. I'm gonna go anytime. Okay, here's the deal. If you're a Wisconsin team and you're not going to be any good, are you going to go into a Minnesota tournament to sign up? No, you're not.
Nope.
You know, they're going up. They scheduled a trip up to Thief River Falls. They've scheduled a lot of Minnesota hockey this year. I think part of that is because they're pretty good. So I think that's a pretty good pick. I can't pick a Wisconsin team. It goes against the policies of Youth Hockey Hub. I don't do that. So I'm going with Chanhassen. So I'm picking Chanhassen to win.
Okay, and then finally the Open Division. I'm picking Princeton because they beat Mammal
They did
already
beat Mammal.
this
They
season.
beat North Branch. That team is undefeated. I like your pick. I don't think
And
they
this
play.
is a state tournament team.
Oh
possibly.
yeah, for sure, a state tournament. They're easily the number one seed in 5A.
Yeah.
So I like that pick. I'm going with Minnehaha, 7-1 out of the
They're
gates.
playing well. The
And
Red Hawks.
The Red Hawks are red hot. So I'm going with
That's my
I'm going
one of my
Minnehaha.
favorite rinks in the state.
Oh gosh, it's my least favorite.
It's one of the coldest. My dad skated on there
It's
when that was
brutal.
Breck High School.
Yeah,
For gym class. It's such a brutal
There was
rink.
no wall there when I was playing back in the 70s. No wall. So cold.
Who are you picking, Carl?
I'm riding that Minnehaha train too.
Okay.
I like that.
Here's my takeaway on this Open Division, okay? And I'm going to segue this into a different topic, okay? I'm
Okay.
going to hijack this. If Princeton
Uh-oh.
is a state tournament team in Class A, why the heck are they playing the Open Division? I think that Class A...
Because they played in the Open last year and didn't win. That's why
but
they're
I'm
in the
saying,
Open Division.
here's my argument, that Class A hockey has gone down dramatically in the last 10 years in quality of players coming through and teams that have been produced.
Well, that's a discussion we could go on and on and on. I disagree. I think Class A hockey is as strong as it's ever been. We're getting just as many Division I players. High-end Division I players are playing Class A hockey. Deb McCabe's a classic example at St. Paul Academy.
But I think I graduated St. Thomas Academy in 2008. I'm wearing a Rink Rat shirt that you're looking at right now, Tony, from 2008 Class A tournament. And Warroad was in the tournament, and Warroad had a good team. You look at Marshall
Yeah,
is
Brock Nelson.
now a 2A team. St. Thomas is a 2A team. Cathedral had Nate Schmidt. Little Falls had Ben Anowski. I mean, these were very, very good teams. And now since you've moved up the Marshalls of the world, the St. Thomas Academies, the Holy Families, the Benildes, I argue that Class A has gone down for that reason.
Well, I think the absence makes the heart grow fonder. For you, so your absence is the past. You know, everything is way better in the past. I think there's some outstanding hockey players playing Class A hockey.
Or
And-
they're NHLers.
Yeah, Dev McCabe will be drafted in the NHL next year. He's that good a hockey player. There's plenty of those players across the board in Class A hockey.
When we were seniors, we played against Hanowski in the first round game on Wednesday. And that was an interesting game because you're playing against the all-time points leader in the state high school league. Is that, would that ever happen again, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. There's plenty of good hockey players in this league. I mean, so you talk about Alexandria is a team that's got Jack Westland and Ben Doherty on their team. Granted, they're sophomores, but those kids are going to be chased around by Division I programs. St. Cloud Cathedral is deep with Division I type hockey players on their team. And Delano's got 3 on their first line. plus a freshman that you don't even know. We haven't seen much of Pianimi yet. So here are kids that are deep. This is as good. You're going to look back 5 years from now and go, Garrett Pianimi was on Delano that year when they went to state? Yeah, they were awesome. I mean, this Delano team is great. Hermantown alone makes up half of UMD's roster practically every year. Okay, so we're talking a legit amount of hockey players playing Class A. If Hermantown was Double A, Danny, I pretty much agree with you. There's a case for yours. But where I would take this argument is Class A not as good as it was in 2008? Maybe not. But if you want to make Class A hockey, make a better tournament, okay? And if people from Litchfield, I live in Bloomington, but please don't hunt me down on this. But Litchfield, Mankato West, Princeton,
Lourdes.
And Lourdes. I love the coach Josh at Lourdes, but please, these are not state tournament type teams. Wouldn't you rather, Danny and Carl, watch Hermantown Alexandria in the first round or St. Cloud Cathedral and SPA like last year's? That was a great game.
Yeah.
They should all be that great. Matamidi and Delano would be a great game. East Grand Forks and Breck would be a great game. Those are second round. Those are semifinals, maybe the championship games. If you could have with 8 best teams in the state in one tournament, now we're talking as good a hockey as you're talking in the Double A.
Yeah.
That'd be my point. It'll never happen, but here, let's just throw it out there, right?
I agree with that. I agree that the hockey's not as good when you have unbalanced sections like we have now. But just to play devil's advocate here, having these sections, like 3A and 5A, does do good things for those schools. But any of us have ever heard of Laverne hockey, not for Section 3A in its current form? Probably not. So, and if you want an example of a program that is up and coming and has produced some legitimate D1 talent out in the middle of nowhere in the past couple of years, that's a perfect example. So it can happen. And I think it's done a decent job of growing hockey in other regions. Sure, it makes for some painful first-round games, but it's not a total loss.
And I totally agree with you, with Carl. If I were to side with one or the other, I was just trying to come up with a different slant as to what would be really joyful as a true hockey fan when you watch those matchups. But I agree. Princeton has 2 rinks in Princeton, Minnesota. That's great for hockey in that region. It's great for Laverne hockey. We need these programs. We need Worthington and Fairmont to be better, so they're not losing 20-1. It's better for those programs to be stronger than it is for us just to have these superpowers like Alexandria and St. Cloud Cathedral and all those teams. So I agree. I agree with you wholeheartedly, but I was just throwing it out as a form of argument for argument purposes.
Do you think because Class A is not as good that Minnesota loses more players to leaving to USHL to NAHL than other because of that reason?
No, I think Class A actually helps combat that because there are kids like, granted, we'll go back to Dev McCabe. He's drafted by, I believe, Madison in the USHL. He's looking at this opportunity like, hey, I'm going to stay home, live with my parents, and go to a great school like SPA and play for a great coach like Matt Funk and enjoy that experience. So I think if he were playing Double-A hockey, he might be playing for a Double-A. He's a Mounds View kid. He'd be playing at Mounds View right now. You and I were just talking about Mounds View does not have a chance to go to state where he lives right now. No. But he now has a chance to play in the state tournament, score game-winning goals like he did last year on Keegan Karki. I think that Class A actually helps that case than hurts that case.
Okay. Any other takeaways, Carl, before we move on?
Just to answer that point that's made there, I think it really depends on the situation, too. If you can be in a Class A situation where you're playing competitive hockey, getting some good games, having a shot to go to the state tournament, then it definitely helps. But if you're stuck on a team where you're losing 10-0 to some really good competition, that's not helping anyone. So that's a loss.
All right, we have one more term to cover before we close out the show, right?
One more tournament, one more game.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, right. Go ahead.
Okay, well, is this really a tournament? That's Carl's argument. The
Technically, this one hands a trophy out at the end, so I would call this a tournament.
I don't know how they dub a winner.
How would you pick a winner?
No, in the
No.
Oh, we're talking St. Louis Park. I thought we were talking
Yeah,
Hilltopper. I'm sorry. Yeah,
No.
there's no trophy at this one.
This
Agreed.
is a glorified jamboree, as Tony calls
Yeah,
it.
this is just a jamboree. Yeah, you're right. There's some great hockey, though.
Good hockey, good teams in this list. The list of teams: Maple Grove, Holy Family, Moorhead, Benil, Lakeville North, Elk River, Stillwater, Prior Lake. Good teams. Let's talk about 4 games briefly. Holy Family versus Moorhead. I'm interested in this game. Northern 8AA. How good is 8AA? Like
We don't
the middle
know.
of the pack.
At this point, Danny, we think that you got to think that 8AA is down because just the way they're performing against other teams outside of their section.
But this is a good speed matchup. Moorhead's fast.
Oh, yes, very fast.
And so I think they can definitely skate with Holy Family. Can they keep Holy Family off the board?
Yeah, it'll be a great game. I think that's the best game of that day. That's why we're broadcasting it. With 3 of these 4 games we're talking about are broadcasting on YHH this week.
Carl, any takeaways on that one? Yep.
I think it's going to be a real good chance to see what Moorhead actually has. Because, look at their games. Yeah, there have been some questionable results, but they're not against teams that, are good measuring sticks otherwise. So, Roseau, Alexandria, we don't really know what they have either. So, they come in kind of as an unknown. I think it was a really good idea. There's some legitimate front-end talent on this Moorhead team.
Yeah.
So we'll get a good idea of where they are.
Next game that I want to talk about, Lakeville North, Elk River. I think this has a lot of intrigue with how streaky North is. And I think the good Elk is going to show up, but this is going to be a heavy-hitting game, I want to say. I think depth and goaltending stand out, and I think Elk comes out on this one.
Yeah, I think I like Elk River in this one too. I think they have, 3 good lines. They have the talent at all 3 positions. They have goaltending. They have defense. I think they're way more consistent. Have been more consistent all year, and Lakeville North just hasn't had that yet. I think Lakeville North is just too immature and not enough people who have played in big games yet. But give them some time. I think Lakeville North will be the best team in Section 1AA.
Who is the best defenseman in this game, Carl? Pearson or Perbich?
I'm going with Perbix, at least with the way he's playing right now.
Okay.
I agree with that.
In total control for us.
Okay, next one, Holy Family versus Lakeville North. This is another intriguing game. I think this is a resume builder for Holy Family, who plays in that Wright County Conference that doesn't have much to play around. So they need yeah. Thank you, Carl. They need this game to keep their strength of schedule up. At least in my book, they need to win this game.
Yeah, I think that Lakeville North, this is going to be one of the best games in the tournament. Do we call it a tournament?
Jamboree.
Jamboree. This is probably one of the best games in the event. This is, again, speed on speed, talent versus talent. I like Holy Family to win this one.
Yeah, I like North.
Okay.
I'll pick North in that one.
All right.
Okay, this is your 1 versus 2, Tony. What you have
don't
on your
jinx it now.
Now
Don't jinx it.
you have a level fair with the ponies right now.
I do. They're the Wedding Crashers. They're going to win it all.
So you just wrote an article on Game On.
Yeah, and had a great video where we had the kids give wedding vows and say I do and the whole 9 yards. It was fun. It was fun meeting the kids, and we think that I wrote in the article I've been cheering quietly for Stillwater to win a state championship. They've never won one at the boys' youth or boys' high school level. We made a fun video about the kids, and they'll take on Elk River. It should be 1 versus 2. I'll be broadcasting that game. What is that, Thursday? I get
Thursday.
all these days.
Thursday or Friday?
It's Thursday.
Thursday.
Friday.
Thanks. Thanks, Danny. I can't keep all these days
I'm
straight,
off
but it's
for
gonna
the
be a
rest of
great
the
game.
year,
It's going to be a great game. 1 versus 2. And if we're lucky, we'll talk about that in the next tournament. We'll get another one with Delano and Hermantown.
Who do you think wins this? Stillwater?
Stillwater's going to beat Elk River, yep.
I'm picking Elk. I think Elk has played stiffer competition. They've played the top lines in the state. I think that's what's going to stand out in this game, and I'm going to pick Elk. And I think Elk's they're riding a pretty good train right now. They beat Rapids.
Elk River could run their way through this 3-game gauntlet, and they'll be the #1 team heading into the new year.
Yeah, which is pretty impressive for Elk. Good job.
Yeah, I think so. They could. I mean, I think they know that, but I don't. At the end of the day, who really cares? I mean, can they win at Amsoil
Yeah,
twice? That's the big question.
Carl, who do you have in this one? I haven't asked you that.
I picked Silver at the start of the year there. Still, I think to win the state tournament, but for many of the reasons Danny mentioned, I'm going to say Elk River's going to win this game. I think Stillwater needs to hit a bump. I think they haven't played a lot of tough competition, so seeing someone like an Elk River is going to be tough for them. And I see this as being a game to just sort of rally them and to bring it up to the point that they'll need to be at to win it in March.
Yeah, Elk River is no Eastridge or Cretin, the types of teams that Stillwater's been playing. It's going to be a major shift in speed for them.
I think if this game was in March, I would favor the Ponies.
Yep.
But for right now, I favor Elk just from watching them play, and Stillwater's had some weird scores. They let 4 into Park.
Yep.
I mean, it's been weird, and so
but they beat Mounds View 9-0 in 2 periods.
Yeah, confidence level. Okay,
Yep.
3 goals on 4 shots to Corey Checo in 1 period.
I know.
Yeah.
They've had some odd stuff.
But they're a very good team. Okay, let's move up into Carl's neck of the woods and talk about the one game that we all are interested in, the possibility of the Hilltoppers.
Don't jinx it, Danny. Don't jinx it.
That's just because you want to go up and watch this game.
Not that it matters if I'm going to be there or not, but if Delano and Hermantown are to win tomorrow, you and I get to go up and watch.
We'll drive
Delano.
up there.
We're going to drive up and watch Delano and Hermantown. Carl, will you join us for that game?
Yeah, party at Mars.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh,
The 3 amigos.
holding auditions.
I know. Bring the trumpet, right? Sorry. It should be a good game. I have Hermantown as number 1 in Class A, so I'm going to have to go with Hermantown as winning this. So
Watching Delano versus Breck, I thought Breck was the better defensive team, and they should have won that game, in my opinion. I feel the same way. I think Hermantown is the better defensive team with Sandberg. I think Hermantown wins, especially because it's closer to home ice.
yeah, they'll have a little bit better crowd there, but I don't think the crowd's really going to have a big effect. But it does help. Hermantown's played; those kids have played plenty of
Games at
they've had
Mars.
plenty of skates at Mars. So I think Hermantown has a slight advantage there. I'm picking Hermantown.
Delano has the monkey on their back.
What monkey?
They have more to prove.
Yeah, they do. But I don't think any of that matters. I think what really matters is the talent level of both teams. I think Delano's. It's going to be a great game. That's why we're fingers crossed. No gooch, please do not gooch this. We want this game to happen.
Okay,
So,
Carl, who do you think's going to win?
I'm also going with Hermantown just because Delano's off to a great start, but you look at their schedule. Other than the Breck game, they haven't really played anyone really big, and so I think Hermantown's just going to be a totally different speed. And Hermantown's been there before; they know what they're doing in this kind of game.
Yeah.
Take Knox.
I agree.
Okay, well, that's about all we have today. Good tournaments to catch if you're going to go anywhere. I took this week off of work for this reason because a lot of good hockey to watch.
It's going to be incredible. A lot of great games. We've got 3 of them on YHH. We're going to be covering not just the high school stuff, but I got tons of coverage on the youth stuff as well. Pee-wee, squirts, bantams. It's everywhere. Can't keep up with all of it, but it's going to be exciting. I'm really, really excited for this batch of hockey we're going to get to see. Our next show, we're going to have a lot of answers.
Yeah, a lot of answers.
A lot of answers. Carl, any final thoughts up there?
Yeah.
What's that?
This week is really when things start to shake out. We stop, doing all this guesswork, and we have real results to go off of for pretty much everyone.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna your section rankings after this week are going to be a lot easier, Carl.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looking forward to that.
All right. Well, Carl, thanks for joining us again from Duluth. Danny, thanks for your inputs on today's show. For Carl and Danny, I'm Tony Scott. Thanks for tuning in.
Last night my kid tore up his league. He had a hat trick right up his sleeve. Coach said he's never seen that. Gemini Athletics gonna have to stitch the C patch. I've got Ferraris, Maseratis, drive all over the place. I drink martinis, never seen these looks all over their face.